They're a group of man-made chemicals. They've been used on things like non-stick cookware, water-repellent clothing, cosmetic products, and many, many more. They're referred to as forever chemicals. They don't break down, and they basically just accumulate in our body.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It's a little scary. Welcome back to episode 7 of the Clean Kitchen Podcast. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Kevin.
And Kevin, what are we going to be talking about today?
We are talking about water today. A few things. Specifically, we're going to talk about how to buy carbonated or sparkling water at the grocery store. Then we're going to talk about, is the tap water that you're drinking dangerous? Might be. If it is, there are some water filters that we might recommend to help alleviate some of the danger that comes with tap water.
Yep, and a little comparison of the water filters.
Yes.
Some filter out some things while others, do more. So
Yep.
We'll hit on those.
Important to break those down. But before we get into that, we're going to start with some truth or myth about water.
Starting off with the game.
We
instead
are.
of ending with the game.
Yeah, let us know how you like that.
I love it.
All right. So there's a lot of different thoughts that people have about water. But the first one we want to break down for you all is around tap water. Specifically, I've heard a lot of people say that tap water can be a good source of minerals. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I get this question a lot on Instagram when I talk about the specific water filter that I use, and we'll get into that. But unfortunately, that is a myth. Tap water contains, most tap water contains chlorine, a little fluoride, and then a little bit of calcium and magnesium. But it's such a small amount where you should not be relying on your tap water or your water that doesn't, your water filter that doesn't filter out those things as your mineral source or your electrolyte. So I definitely recommend either taking magnesium or potassium or calcium supplement or finding electrolytes or just getting those things from real whole foods. But unfortunately, tap water, not a good source of minerals.
Myth busted.
It's busted.
All right. And we will talk about another alternative water at the end that I think has a lot more electrolytes than a tap water does.
Definitely.
Okay. So tap water, not a good source of minerals. Next truth or myth I have for you is around plastic water bottles. So a lot of people are afraid to use plastic water bottles for a variety of reasons. So should we be afraid of using plastic water bottles at all costs?
That one I would say yes. We should really be trying to avoid plastic water bottle most of the time. Certain situations where you can't get your hand on a glass bottle or something, or stainless steel bottle, something like that, okay. But for the most part, we should definitely be avoiding them. So first off, don't be fooled by something called BPA free. So we see this nowadays a lot on water bottles or cans or just a lot of products in general. And there's much more to the whole plastic issue than just BPA. So this is just one chemical that's found in a lot of plastic that has been shown to mimic estrogen in the body. So it can disrupt your hormones. It's linked to reproductive issues and can increase your risk of certain cancers, diabetes, and even obesity. So this is the big one that a lot of people know about. But unfortunately, there's a lot of other substances and chemicals that are also found in plastic and other materials that are just as bad as BPA. Things like BPS and phthalates, which is a hot topic right now. And similar to BPA, a lot of these can be toxic to our body. They mess with our hormones, and they should really be avoided. And that reminds me, a big thing with plastic water bottles especially, you do not want to have them heated up because then all these chemicals leach into the water even more than they originally had. So I know a lot of people will leave a water bottle in the car or something like that. It gets hot and then you drink it. That's a big no-no.
Huge no-no.
So if you are going to have plastic water, a water bottle in plastic, really try not to get it hot. Don't leave it out in the sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to clarify there, when you're saying plastic water bottles, you're talking about both the plastic water bottles that you'd find at any grocery store and a purchased plastic bottle as well?
What do you mean purchased?
Like rather than purchasing a stainless steel bottle.
Oh,
you
like
can
a
purchase
water
just
bottle.
Plastic one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So both of those fall into this category.
Yeah. When it comes to water bottles specifically, like that you refillable water bottles.
Yeah,
I guess
reusable. I
is
guess is the word,
reusable. I would definitely recommend going with stainless steel.
Okay.
Which is very easy to find.
Yep.
Plenty of stainless steel reusable water bottles nowadays.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the key there.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, awesome. Good to know that. And then our last truth or myth that we want to break down today is around alkaline water, specifically that people should be drinking alkaline water. And before you jump into the truth or myth, break down what alkaline water means.
Yeah, so alkaline water basically just means it has a high pH. So our stomach has a pH of 1.5 to 3.5. It's very, very, very acidic. And we've been told that alkaline waters with a high pH are better for our body, when in reality, it doesn't matter.
No.
So this one's going to be a myth that alkaline waters are healthier. It really doesn't matter, because once we consume this water, whether it has a pH of 6 or 9, our body doesn't know the difference. Once we drink that water, it goes down to our esophagus and it goes into our stomach. Our body can't tell the difference. So don't be fooled by a lot of this marketing out there that says, "Oh, alkaline water, high pH," like thinking it's healthier.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
No.
All a marketing stunt.
All marketing.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So we're going to talk about then, because it sounds like a lot of what you might see in a grocery store, you should be avoiding between the plastic and the high alkaline. So we're going to tell you what to look for.
But not necessarily. I'm not saying that high alkaline is bad, or high pH alkaline water is bad necessarily. I'm just saying don't think that it's healthier than a normal water that's lower in pH.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Just not maybe what it's made out to be.
Exactly.
Okay. Good distinction there. Okay. So we've already cracked a ton down with water, which I love. Love that start there. So now we're going to...
Hot start.
Hot. We're going to jump into a popular topic here around carbonated water. So if you go to a grocery store and you look down the carbonated water aisle, there are a ton of options, and it can be overwhelming.
Yes.
So we've got a couple maybe rules or things to look for and avoid within the carbonated water section. Maybe we'll start there and start breaking it down.
Yeah, my rules are very simple with carbonated or sparkling water. So 99% of sparkling water out there, it's going to have carbonated water and natural flavors. We talked about natural flavors before, but what are natural flavors? Well, it's something that's derived from something natural, like a fruit, a vegetable. It could be a source of animal protein, or really anything natural, an herb, a spice. But then they can then take that to a lab and they can add up to 100 chemicals to it. And it's a long list of ingredients that can go into natural flavors. So people hear natural flavors, they think it's natural. It's not so natural. Yeah. We'll do a separate podcast going more in depth about the dangerous chemicals that are found in natural flavors. But most sparkling water contains natural flavors, and I recommend avoiding it.
Yep.
But luckily, there are more and more brands that are coming out now that are using real fruit puree, citrus, fruit juice, things like that, to give the sparkling water real fruit flavor instead of natural flavors. So that's the main thing I recommend looking for. Skip the one with natural flavors and look for one with carbonated water and real fruit and citrus.
Okay, that makes sense there. And I guess a follow-up on the natural flavors. Is that one of those ingredients where it should be avoided at all costs, or are there some situations where you kind of just have to have a little bit of natural flavors?
Yeah, good question. I'd start off by saying I am not perfect. I consume natural flavors every once in a while. It really depends on what the alternative is. So, for example, sparkling water, I know for a fact I can easily find another brand that doesn't use natural flavors. I'm going to go for that one 100% of the time. Say a different product, I don't know, I'll use an energy drink, for example, as an example. Say I find one with maybe organic natural flavors, and quick side note on that, organic natural flavors, if you see that on a package, that actually... they're required to stick to much stricter standards. So there's a long list of ingredients and chemicals that you can't use in organic natural flavors compared to conventional or just regular natural flavors.
Okay.
So just know that if you do see organic natural flavors, it does mean something. It is slightly better than regular natural flavors. So back to my example with the energy drinks. If I see an energy drink and it's got really clean ingredients, and it's got a little bit of organic natural flavors in there, and I cannot find an alternative with better ingredients, then yeah, I'll go for that one.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So back to your question, I don't think avoiding natural flavors 100% of the time is like a must. I don't think that natural flavors is as toxic and as bad as something like vegetable oils are, where that's something I kind of do recommend avoiding 100% of the time if you can. But yeah, that's my thought. Did that answer your question?
Did. Yeah, and I think that's a really important point you made, specific to carbonated water, but also generally speaking. We were talking before off camera about a recent video you made related to biscuits.
Yeah.
And you got some pushback because it contained an ingredient that you typically try and avoid. And the line you said there in your description is that you're just looking for the best option.
Exactly.
And sometimes there isn't a perfect option, and you work with what you have.
Exactly.
So it's definitely something that you talk about a lot.
Yes. And just another note there. I mean, I talk about this. Obviously, I talk about ingredients and things to look for and avoid every single day. But I want people to know out there, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Is. Yeah.
So no one's perfect. Don't feel bad about yourself if you consume an ingredient that I tell you to avoid or something like that. So this is all just, I just want you to eat as healthy as possible and get all the information you need to make important decisions and healthy decisions.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Back to carbonated water.
Okay.
Okay.
A little off track there.
Yeah.
Worth
the tangent.
It was a good side road.
Exactly. Okay. So to recap quick, avoid natural flavors where you can and look for real juice, maybe puree, citrus, those kinds of ingredients.
Yeah. And just to know, I think we're going to talk about this in a second, but Spindrift is one of my favorite brands. Yeah. I've been recommending that one for a while. I know Trader Joe's also has a brand, but yeah, there's some other ones. So just look at those ingredients.
So I remember reading, actually, that I think recently there was a study that found a certain chemical in a lot of different sparkling waters.
Yeah.
What was that, and should we be worried about it?
Yeah, this is actually a chemical that has been found in it's being studied and being detected in a lot of foods and drinks in general. And it's a little bit scary, but it's something called PFAs. The full term for it is per and polyfluorinated substances.
Okay.
So PFAs are they're a group of man-made chemicals. They've been used in the U.S. since I believe the 1940s, and they've been used on things like non-stick cookware, water repellent clothing, so like rain jackets. That the material that's on rain jackets, that's PFAs that contains PFAs. Stain resistant fabrics, carpets, cosmetic products, and many, many more. So the problem with PFAs is that they can accumulate in the environment, and specifically why they were found in sparkling water is that they can accumulate in water sources, leading to obviously contamination. So like I said, they are a group of chemicals. They're referred to as forever chemicals because they are extremely persistent in the environment and in our body. So they don't break down, and they basically just accumulate in our body.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It's a little scary, yes. And that's why they've been testing this specific chemical in so many different types of foods. Like I literally just read something last week, and it was like high levels of PFAs found in kale.
No way.
I'm just like, oh no. Yeah. So I think we're trying to test and see what foods and different, where these PFAs chemicals are, because they are dangerous. And like I said, they accumulate in our body over time.
Yeah. So can this be found in even the more healthy carbonated water options?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So there was a study done in 2020 that tested both sparkling water and still water, and it found that the PFAs were very prevalent in the sparkling water as opposed to the still. So what's considered a dangerous amount of PFAs is anything above 70 parts per trillion.
Okay.
I guess that's like the FDA regulation of what they consider dangerous, anything above that. But there's many scientists and other environmental organizations that say the limit, we really shouldn't be consuming anything over 1 part per trillion. So much lower than 70.
Yep.
And when you hear what these chemicals are and they build up in your body and they accumulate over time, I definitely agree with, we want to minimize this wherever we can. So I agree with that. We really don't want to be consuming this chemical over 1 part per trillion.
Yeah. If you're telling me the same chemical that you find on my waterproof rain jacket is also in my sparkling water, yeah, I'd say I don't want to be consuming that.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So there were a few brands in this specific study that tested very high in these PFAs. So I'll quickly go through it. And again, this was in 2020. So as far as I know, there hasn't been an updated study about this. But at the time, brands like Topo Chico, Polar Seltzer, Bubbly, Poland Spring, Canada Dry, LaCroix, which is some very popular brand, and Perrier were some of the higher ones.
Okay.
And just to clarify, when I say all of these had high amounts, they were all between, I want to say, 5 and 8.
Okay.
So below that 70 part per trillion threshold, but well above the 1 part per trillion, where a lot of scientists and environmental agencies have deemed anything above that as dangerous.
Okay. And just to clarify on these PFAs.
Yes.
This is not something you're going to see on a label or anything like that.
No.
This is separate.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah. The only place you will find PFAs on the label is going to be something like nonstick cookware, or they'll say PFAs free, PFA free, or there's something called PFE or PFAO. All these, they all kind of fall under the same group of chemicals.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the only place you're going to find it on a label.
Okay.
Most likely, you're not going to find it on a food package.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So this study that was done in 2020 kind of serves as the best source that we have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But there were, with that being said, there were a few brands that tested below 1 part per trillion, and some of those were, one, my favorite brand, Spindrift, which I was very happy. I was very happy to see that. They use real fruit and citrus for flavors and not natural flavors, like basically all the other brands that I just said.
Yep.
Pellegrino, which I don't know if they do you know if they have flavored ones? I know they have unflavored.
I think they do, yeah.
Okay, so then there you go. I believe they probably use natural flavors, but I mean, you go for their. I know they have the glass bottles at Costco, unflavored, and that's a great option. Now that we know it's low in PFAs, doesn't contain natural flavors, and it's in a glass bottle, which we'll get to a little bit more on that of kind of what exactly to look for when you're at the grocery store when you're buying water. And then Dasani. I don't know if they have
I think they do have sparkling water.
Okay, well then
Feels
there
like
you go.
Everyone's got sparkling water.
Yeah, there you go. They also tested low in PFAs.
Okay.
So those 3 brands.
Okay. I love that. So speaking of carbonated water, I want to know about your preferences. Do you have carbonated water?
Yeah.
And if so, how frequently do you have it?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't like, I for some reason, I don't like carbonated stuff. Growing up, I remember as kids, we would grow up and our sisters, they would drink soda. They liked the taste of it. We always hated it.
Hated soda.
I remember, this might have scarred me, which is why I remember it. But like we were so young, we were at a restaurant, and I guess one of our sisters ordered like a Sprite or something. And I took a sip of it thinking it was water. And I was like, something just bit my tongue. Like I remember it on my tongue, and I was like, this is painful.
Yeah.
I was so young.
Yeah.
And I was like, people drink this? Like they enjoy this? Like I was like,
it's a crazy sensation.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not expecting it.
Exactly. And I think I was scarred ever since then.
Yeah.
I was like, this is disgusting.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll try a sip every once in a while. Like be like, oh, okay, here, like a Spindrift, let me try it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's good. But like, I don't prefer it. First of all, I think it's the combination of the carbonated. I just don't like the feeling it creates in my mouth. And then also flavored stuff. I'm just not a big flavored guy.
No.
I just like water.
Yeah. That's interesting.
With lemon.
Water with lemon.
Yeah.
So no carbonated drinks at all.
So never. No.
Okay.
I never buy it for myself. I never drink it.
No. Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that story. That's crazy.
Yeah. I remember drinking it through it was like a kid's cup. I remember it. It was one of those like straws, like one of those bendy straws or something. I drink it and I just freaked out.
And it still made an impression to this day.
Yeah, I remember.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even the other day, I forget, why did I try? I took a sip I took a sip of Coca-Cola. I
Mhm.
forget a few weeks ago because I hadn't had it. I mean, I don't drink that. I never thought it tasted good, but I had a sip of it. I forget who I was with. I had a sip. I was like, let me taste this, and I thought it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Like everything about it.
Yep. It's sugary.
That's just me.
Yeah.
The sugar, just like the flavor of it. I was like, this is weird. Like I don't understand why people enjoy it. No hate, but just I don't get it.
Not for you.
No, not for me.
Not for you. Okay, so to recap then on carbonated water, getting back on track here. The rules are simple. I like this. We're going to try to avoid natural flavors where we can and look for real ingredients.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Awesome.
You're really not going to find any other additives or any other ingredients in sparkling water.
Yep. And is there anything to the container that the sparkling water is in, like the plastic water bottles that we talked about?
Yeah, that's a great question. For a majority of the time, I think a lot of them are kind of like we talked about. They're BPA free, which has become a popular term, but I think a lot of them still can contain some of these other chemicals.
Okay.
So
Something to be cautious of there.
Yeah.
I want to pivot to tap water here.
Okay.
So there's a lot of misconceptions. We already broke down some about tap water. So tell me your kind of initial thoughts about just drinking regular tap water.
Yeah, I definitely don't recommend it, especially nowadays. There's just so many contaminants that are getting into our tap water that maybe weren't getting into our tap water, 50, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But now there's just so many, like we talked about, man-made chemicals in our environment, in our water. So tap water can contain anything from microorganisms like different bacteria, viruses, pathogens, heavy metals, things like mercury are found in tap water. A lot of chemicals, all the pesticides and herbicides that are being sprayed in our food are finding their way into tap water. Now there's all different types of pharmaceuticals and industrial chemicals. PFAs, like we just talked about, are found in tap water. Things like nitrates, fluoride, chlorine, and many more. Arsenic is just another one. There's a lot in our tap water, and I don't think we should be consuming it.
Yeah, it's terrifying how much is really in there. Yeah. And it also feels like it's dependent upon where you live as well. I remember growing up, all of our cousins are in the Northeast.
Yes.
And whenever we went there, we would never drink the tap water there. For whatever chemicals they had in it, we always got some sort of alternative, whether it's just from a bottle or something else. And I always thought that was interesting.
That's so true.
We had the tap water at home.
Yeah. I guess so.
We tried to avoid it if we could, but had the tap water. But up in the Northeast, it was avoided at all costs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting. I totally forgot about that. But now that you say that, I totally remember avoiding that when we would go up there. And you can, I'm not sure the specific website, maybe we'll leave it in the description, but you can get your tap water tested just to see, if you're curious, what type of chemicals are found in your water local to you. Because like you said, it's different everywhere.
Yeah. We actually got that done.
Oh, you did?
Water tested.
Oh, in your house?
In our house, yeah.
And what did you find? What'd you find?
So it was through Home Depot. They had a free water test kit just in the store. So we went home.
They were just passing them out?
They was, on a shelf.
Okay.
You just take it and went home, filled up a little beaker of water and sent it off. And a couple weeks later, they called and they said they found some chemicals in our tap water. And so they sent out a gentleman, Ron, shout out Ron, and he came and did a whole test right in front of us with our tap water. And it was all about implementing some sort of soft water filter. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about filters shortly. Yes. But there's one test that I distinctly remember him doing where he had us take a sip of the normal tap water and then a sip of the filtered tap water that he had. And then he had us kind of run our tongue across the top of our teeth.
Okay.
And it was so much grittier with the regular tap water compared to the softener that he had. It was almost like you could feel the chemicals and minerals. So it was crazy.
Well, that's interesting. You don't know you don't know the specific chemicals or what they found in your tap water, do
I have to go back and look.
Wow, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
So
it was cool.
It was like rough.
It was rough. Yes.
It
was like you'd have to force your tongue to move, whereas the filtered one, it almost just glided.
Interesting.
Yep.
I wonder, do you know what kind of filter he was using?
He just called it a water softener.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I might have to do a little experiment maybe with my tap water and then the filter that I use.
Yeah, I bet you'd feel the same thing.
Yeah.
It's worth testing out.
Interesting.
Yep. So I guess maybe perfect pivot then into water filters. There are a lot of popular water filters out there, but the question I have is are they actually doing anything?
Yeah. So I know one of the most common filters is Brita filter or Brita water pitcher or whatever. And these are good. They do filter out some chemicals like chlorine, mercury, cadmium, benzene, but if you go on their website, it'll kind of tell you, and I know they have different types of filters, but yes, they tell you what it does filter out, but a lot of the time they're not telling you what it doesn't filter out. So like some of the things I mentioned earlier, like fluoride, nitrates, those microorganisms, so like bacteria, viruses, pathogens, PFAs, which is now a big one, and things like microplastics can get through the Brita filter. So unfortunately, that's not my go-to recommendation. If that's all you can find and afford, yes, definitely do it. That is better than drinking tap water. But when it comes to water filters, I really recommend something called a reverse osmosis water filter.
Okay, break that down for me.
That's what I use. That's what I recommend. So how it works is the water is kind of forced through something called a semi-permeable membrane. And basically through this process, it is able to remove basically all contaminants, including heavy metals, microorganisms, like I talked about, all these chemicals, PFAs, all the heavy metals, really everything. It just about removes everything from your water, including the minerals, like we talked about.
Yeah.
And this is something I get a lot of questions about. Kyle, is my reverse osmosis water filter gonna removing all my minerals? Now how am I gonna get my minerals in? Yeah. Well, we already broke this down in the beginning. Tap water is not a good source of minerals, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I would still be, eating real whole foods that are high in minerals or taking some sort of mineral or electrolyte supplement. So reverse osmosis is my favorite water filter.
Okay. So it's better to filter out everything, chemicals and minerals, than have it straight from the tap and maybe get those small amount of minerals.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So with the filters, you mentioned that it can filter out PFAs.
Yes.
Have you ever done this or seen this where someone is taking their sparkling water and running it through a filter that they purchased from the store to maybe filter out some of the PFAs?
I have not. I know I've seen tests where people will take like, for example, the one that I use AquaTru is the brand that I use, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. This isn't sponsored by them or anything, but I do have an affiliate link that people can use to get like $100 off.
Oh, nice.
So we'll leave that in the description. But I have seen people put if you put see, my question is, I think if you put sparkling water or soda in the back tank, which is where you put the tap water, I think if it filters through, I think it just comes out water.
Oh.
I think it may remove...
It removes everything.
Yeah, I think it may remove the carbonation.
Oh, wow.
Because I've seen people put in, like, Diet Coke, and then it comes out water.
That's wild.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I've seen it with, like, Powerade, too, or something like that, and it comes out water.
Huh. It's taking out all the syrup,
everything.
too.
I guess it removes everything.
That's how powerful it is.
Yes. And I don't recommend doing that.
Yeah.
But you can watch some videos on YouTube of people doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if people... I don't know if there are filters out there. I assume there are that people can use to maybe filter their sparkling water.
Yeah.
But I assume most of these sparkling waters are already filtered in some sort of capacity.
Yep. Okay. And so with you specifically, you're having water. So you're just taking tap water, running it through your AquaTru filter.
Yes.
To do the reverse osmosis process. And that's your preferred way to consume water.
Yes. That's how I consume all my water. Yep.
Do you add anything to your water?
I'll do electrolyte. I have these little electrolyte packets from Flav City. Those are the ones that I like. I'll leave a few of my favorite electrolyte brands in the description so people can look at those. But that's how I kind of get my minerals. That's really the only thing I would add to my water. There's different like trace minerals and different types of droppers that people can put into their water to get those extra minerals.
Yep. But
that's really the only thing I would recommend adding to your water.
I've seen you talk to a lot about lemons, putting lemons in your water. You do
yeah.
that as well?
Yeah. Good point. Yes, I also do that. I also add, first thing in the morning, I'll do half a lemon, full lemon
Huh.
juice in my water.
A full lemon.
Yeah, full
Wow.
lemon juice. Yeah.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
lot. More than I would
Yeah.
have thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally, I'll just do that first thing in the morning because, like I talked about this in a previous episode. I think it was the coffee one that we just did, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very hydrating to your body to consume water and lemon first thing in the morning. So I will put lemon, and sometimes I'll put a little sprinkle of unrefined sea salt, again, for extra minerals. The reason I do that is because there's natural minerals in sea salt. So yes, I will do that in the morning. And then I'll normally do my electrolytes in the afternoon.
Okay. And is there a better time to drink water? Is it good right in the morning to have it, or throughout the day? Is there a preference there?
Good question. So I definitely recommend consuming it first thing in the morning before you consume your coffee or tea. Get some water in there. Good, nice and hydrating to your body, because when you've been sleeping for that long, you're going to be dehydrated. So you want to wake up and hydrate yourself. So I would definitely recommend having it first thing in the morning. As far as throughout the day, just drink whenever, like, your body knows when you're thirsty or not. So listen to your body, drink when you're thirsty. If you're not thirsty, don't drink.
Yeah.
But a note to that, I don't recommend drinking large amounts of water, especially cold water, right before a meal or during a meal, especially if you have digestive problems.
Why is that?
Because that can... so like I talked about earlier, our stomachs have a pH of anywhere from 1.5 to 3.5. So when we fill that with a bunch of water, specifically cold water right before a meal or during a meal, it can kind of prevent us from digesting or breaking down certain foods. So especially if you don't have a lot of digestive problems or anything, it's not a big deal. But if you do suffer from digestive issues, especially something like bloating, that can not drinking water right before or during your meal can definitely help with that.
Is it recommended to drink after the meal? Is that fine?
No. So I believe normally it's recommended to wait an hour or so after your meal, just to kind of let your stomach naturally do its thing before you drink a bunch of water.
Wow. I never knew that water could play such a role on the food that we're eating.
Yeah, it can affect how it breaks down in our stomach.
Wow, did not know that.
Yeah, I learned that when I was going through a lot of digestive issues. I remember listening to many experts and doctors all agree on that especially if you're having problems, avoid the water maybe an hour before, during your meal, and an hour after, if you can.
Yeah. So if you have a meal, you're gonna have that meal and then not have water on either end.
Yeah, I mean, me personally.
Yeah.
If I drink water before, it's a small amount.
Okay.
I don't try. I try to not drink water during my meal, and a lot of the times I won't even It's tempting if I bring water with me to my seat wherever I'm eating. So a lot of the times I'll just leave it, and then I'll just eat my food and not drink water. And then I normally I try to go for a walk right after my meals. So that kind of gets me outside, and then once I come back, then I'll drink my water. So I do try to wait. Yes,
that's wild
to this day.
me.
Yeah,
that is very cool.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so we're gonna pivot there to buying water at a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, what we've seen a big increase in is glass water bottles, and we talked about plastic water bottles and the possible downside that is associated with plastic water bottles. So are glass bottles a better alternative to the plastic ones?
Yeah. I'm drinking my electrolytes right now, actually,
as
we speak. But yeah, great question. So when it comes to water at the grocery store, and I guess this can go for both still and sparkling, because a lot of the unflavored sparkling waters you can find in glass bottles now. But like I hinted to earlier, I do recommend going for a glass bottle. Avoid that plastic when you can. But things to look for, mineral water is great. Again, it does contain a few minerals. Not a lot.
No.
Not a lot. You can look on the back. It contains a little bit of minerals, but again, that shouldn't be your main source of your minerals. So mineral water is great though. A lot of brands utilize reverse osmosis filters, so you can kind of turn it over and say, oh, this was filtered by a reverse osmosis water filter. So you find that. Distilled water is also good. But yeah, I mean that's really it. Glass bottle, and then one of those three things.
Okay, I didn't realize that the reverse osmosis, you'd find that on a bottle in the grocery store as well.
Yep. You can look on the back.
Great.
And some are even filtered using that.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's another thing to look for then.
Yes.
In the grocery store. Love it.
And before we get into our last topic here, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and a rating on Spotify, especially if you're enjoying this. We appreciate it. All right. What's our last topic here, Kevin?
Let's talk about some alternative water options.
Okay.
So at the beginning, we talked about how water might not be the best source of minerals, but there are other options for getting an increase in electrolytes. One that I hear a lot about is coconut water.
Yes.
Tell me about coconut water.
Coconut water has become very popular, and for good reason. It's very high in minerals, like we talked about, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and it's also very high in antioxidants. So it's great, but there's basically two different types of coconut water that you're going to find at the average store. One of them you're going to find in the grocery store aisle. It's not in the fridge section. It's just on the shelf. The only you can find plenty that the only ingredient is coconut water. I do recommend trying to avoid the ones with added sugar because a lot of them they'll add sugar. But coconut water is naturally sweet, so you don't need the added sugar. It's already very sweet. So we have the coconut water in the aisle, and then you also will find coconut water in the fridge section. So the big difference is how these coconut waters are processed. So the one in the aisle that's not refrigerated, that's shelf stable, is high temperature pasteurized, similar to what we talked about in the milk episode.
Oh yeah,
So
remember this?
We learned all about that. So it's heated to high temperatures. And unfortunately, when it's heated to these high temperatures, it destroys a lot of the nutrients and minerals that's in them. So that's why I don't recommend, not necessarily is it bad and it's unhealthy going for that water, but to get the full benefits, you want to go for the one in the fridge section.
Okay.
The main difference, like I said, is how they're processed. So the one in the fridge is high pressure pasteurized. So it uses pressure instead of heat to preserve it. So it's, it's more shelf stable, but it still has to go in the fridge section. And this retains a lot of the nutrients and minerals. So that's what I recommend going for. Not only does it retain the nutrients, but it also tastes better, in my opinion.
Do you drink a lot of coconut water?
When it's on sale at Costco.
Yeah, that's when you go for it.
Yeah.
So it's more of a luxury then.
It is.
Okay.
It's pricey. It's expensive. But yeah, when it's on sale, I do buy it. I love the taste of it. Like I said, it's a good source of these different minerals. But it's not an everyday thing for me.
Okay. I feel like I remember it was probably a few years ago where coconut water, it felt like you almost always had coconut water with you.
Yeah.
Has that changed?
I think that was when that was when I discovered it and
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it because I just love the taste of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sweet, it's delicious. Harmless Harvest is my favorite brand, and just the taste of it, it's delicious. It's pink, and a lot of people ask me, why is it pink? That's just so there's antioxidants in coconut water, like I mentioned. That's just the light naturally interacting with the antioxidants in there, and it creates that pink color. So that's natural, and that's a good thing. It means there's antioxidants in there. So yeah, I definitely went through a phase where I was obsessed with coconut water.
I remember that.
But I still drink it. I have some in my fridge right now, and I definitely drink it more if I'm like going to play tennis or something, and I'm going to be sweating a lot. But I kind of use I use the electrolytes as kind of like an alternative to that kind of.
Okay.
So
And the electrolytes too. A lot of times people will go to those electrolytes after maybe a night of drinking.
Oh yeah,
And I think coconut water can be a healthier alternative.
definitely. Yes, absolutely.
Another good use case.
Yeah, I'll the few times that I do drink, I will either try to have some coconut water or one of those electrolyte packets before I go to bed or in the morning.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
I like that.
go for that instead of liquid IV.
Smart idea there. The last alternative water I want to touch on here is cacao water.
Yeah.
So this one I don't think is as popular as coconut water.
No, definitely not.
But I think there might be some benefits to it as well.
yeah, had you heard of this?
I'd never heard of it.
It's a newer product. There's not a lot of brands out there, but similar to coconut water, it can be a good source of antioxidants and minerals like magnesium, potassium. So I don't think I've actually even bought it.
No, never had it.
I've never had it. No.
Would it be an alternative to coconut water? It's like, you can have either one of these.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And normally I believe it should be found in the same section as the refrigerated coconut water as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for coconut water and cacao water, if you're going to go for those, you might as well get the refrigerated one.
Yes. Yep.
Got it.
Yep. Just retains those nutrients.
All right.
All right. I think that's going to be it for episode 7. Wow. Can't believe episode
Flew
7.
by.
We've already done 7 episodes of the Clean Kitchen Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. Until next week, we will see you in episode 8.
Bye.
You want a better tagline?
Yeah,
or
I need
something?
a better tagline.
Bye.
Bye. That's the pod.
Like, peace.
Peace.
No, I don't like that's the pod.
That's the pod. Not that's the pod.
We will see you next week in episode 8. See you guys.
See you guys. That's easy.
Peace.
Peace. I don't think peace is me.
Okay. Peace.
Peace.
I like peace.
Peace.
All right, we'll see you next week in episode 8.
See you guys.
Delayed.
I almost said bye.
Delayed. We will see you next week in episode 8.
Talk later.
No, we're not talking to him. All right, peace, guys.